the thoughts of Eamon Martin there. He still looks fit, doesn't he? Anyway, let's go to our final event of the day. It's the big one. It's the senior men's 12-kilometre race. The athletes are on the start line. So let's hand over to your commentators for this final event of the day. That's Jeff Whiteman and, first of all, Stuart Story.
Well, thank you, John. Steve Vernon, you've got to look at him now. We've mentioned him several times today. He was in, then he was out, he's in, and finally he is in. And we shall see how he prevails, the English cross-country champion. 12 kilometres, the distance. And of course, once again, that national in very difficult conditions indeed. You heard Eamon Martin say that it was an important race this way. When I tell you that it began in what, 1926, this inter-counties event. Jack Holden, Gordon Pirrie won this race back in 1952. Basil Heatley, my old mate Ken Norris, Basil Heatley again. And then Ron Hill, the marathon man, Dick Taylor, Tony Simmons, Steve Ovitt won it in 1978. And of course Mike Mcleod in 1985. And remember last year the emphatic win by Mo Farah. So some big names in this. I didn't mention them all, and there are many other names that would warrant a mention here. But certainly this race over 12 kilometres will slowly but surely emerge. And of course you've heard mention of Andy Vernon as well. I'll be interested to see what happens with Tom Lancashire too, from Greater Manchester, our 1500 metre man. I can see him already there, up in about half a dozen athletes there. I can see Andy Vernon. I can see, oh, there's Andy, 4407 on the right of your picture with the white strip and the green of Hampshire.
Appropriately enough, having had an interview with Essex finest Eamon Martin, this is an Essex runner in the lead. That's Harun Abdi, and just behind him is Mick Mcleod's son, Ryan Mcleod, who would have hoped to have been at the European Indoor Championships this weekend. Missed out on the qualifying time there by a tenth of a second. So the big names all to the fore. I think it's good news for Greater Manchester that Steve Vernon is back in their team. Look out for them, the orange singlets, which we've seen on the podium once before already. But these are the runners that are the backbone of British endurance running. Selected for their counties, they'll be out running again tomorrow. It's a way of life. They're serious runners. You run every day. That's what serious runners do. And if your county needs you, you give 100% to that effort. It's the longest race you can do in spikes, and in my opinion, the hardest race of the year, because road races settle and have a rhythm. This just pulls at your lungs and keeps pulling all the way through.
4.558. Ryan Mcleod from the North East, coached by John Nuttall now, 11th in the Bupa International Edinburgh race this season, just after the new year, was 6th in the Liverpool McCain. Competed in the European Cross Country Championships, was 29th in that, in the yellow vest with the red and blue band. And of course, as I've said, Andy Vernon is there. What a chase he gave to Mo Farah last year, winning 4.407, 4.710. Looking at Tom Humphreys in the green vest of Staffordshire on the right. What an emphatic race he had in 2008. He's in about 7th place in the green vest, just turning the corner now. Tom Humphreys won not only the inter-counties that year, but he won the national as well. It was his best year ever. But the manner in which he won this race was emphatic in every sense. He was way, way out on his own. And that's not going to happen today, I don't think, with Andy Vernon in good shape.
Well, you'd probably make Steve Vernon there running alongside Tom Lancashire, the two together for the Greater Manchester team in 2nd and 3rd, or 3rd and 4th, as among the favourites. It would be a long shot if Lancashire pulled it off, but he's one of the names that we've got an eye on. This one is 6 to score for the counties, and let me just tell you why that last scorer is so important, because we saw Yorkshire in the previous event get 1, 2 and then 20th, and unfortunately they had to wait to 49th for their last scorer, which means silver medals, and the winning team in the under-15 girls was Surrey with 59, then Yorkshire, then Hampshire, North Eastern counties, Essex and Lancashire.
Well,
41 counties closed, Stuart, so it means that pretty much every county has got somebody in every race.
Well, Harun Abdi has set his stall very early on. Notable, certainly, Ryan Mcleod is there in 2nd place. Oh, there's Mike Skinner as well in the blue top. I can see him in that leading group, so it's very much with Formbook, a previous winner of the National. Mike was 2nd this year in the English National. But individual stopwatches will be pressed already. There's Tom Lancashire right on the inside in the orange vest, coming up alongside 4.386. We've said that he's not interested in going to the World Cross, and of course he is a man who really achieved a great deal in terms of time, in terms of 1500 metres, 3:33 last season, but really didn't do the business when it came to the Commonwealth Games or the European Championships. I think he was 8th and 10th respectively. So, you know, there's a lot to come from him in terms of competitiveness in major races.
Yeah, I think the situation for all of our 1500 metre runners, but especially Lancashire and Baddeley, is they've done one round of championships over 4 years. They've made most of the finals, but now on the next round, including London 2012, it's time to step up, because the event hasn't particularly moved on. You can still win pretty much anything at 3:29, and they're all capable of that in the right circumstances. So time to move on. We've got, I think Ryan Mcleod is going to be a feature in this event. That's him in the yellow singlet. He has got the track speed that perhaps should have seen him at the European Indoors this weekend. That was his target. As a consolation, he won't want to come here and finish outside the medals. Looks as though North East counties aren't badly placed in this, but if you look across at the singlets, it's well, it's Greater Manchester certainly with 3 or 4. Scotland West with a runner back there in 5th place at the moment in the sky blue, and also Yorkshire, whose colours we've seen, the white and blue, who look to have about 3 men in the top 20. So early days yet.
The leader, 4.775, is James Walsh of Warwickshire, Leeds City Athletics Club. He was 4th in the English National, 6th last year in that National. He's the 11th in the McCain series, I understand. And he was 11th in, no, not in the series actually, he was 11th in Antrim in the Irish version of this 4-event championship. And he was 18th in Liverpool in that challenge too, but he's got the lead at the moment. But all the principals are up there. And your friend Sergei Twelday,
yes,
when you were in command up in Scotland,
yes,
he was one of your men. He was 6th in the Scottish Championship this year.
He was a former Eritrean. There were 5 or 6 of them that sought asylum after the World Cross Country in Edinburgh in 2008. They're not eligible for Scotland or Great Britain just yet, but he's accompanied by Derek Hawkins of Scotland West there. And if I look back, I can see 2 other Scotland West vests. It needs 6. But at this point in the proceedings, Steve Vernon just starting to nudge the leader's shoulder on the right-hand side there in the orange. It was the most mystifying news of the day to me that he wasn't going to run.
Absolutely.
You don't pull out of races when you're running well. You withdraw if you're running badly, and he'll never get a better chance at the age of 30 to lead the line at a World Cross or win this.
Yeah, there is a slight story behind this, in that he was suffering from a slight niggle of the hamstring. Now, he is a mud runner. That everyone recognises the fact that he goes best in very heavy conditions. And there was some doubt whether he would perform on the flat like this, and whether it might in fact do him damage. But we'll see whether that actually is the case at the end of the day. But he's up there in 2nd place at the moment. And I would expect him to feature. He won the English National. You know, he's certainly nice and steady at the moment. Andy Vernon's in about 8th place on the right there. Steadily he'll build his way forward. Also up there is Glen Watts of Cambridgeshire, wearing 4.255, the big fella on the left of the picture.
Well, unfortunately, our Essex starlet there is now drifting back. That's Harun Abdi, just a little bit too lavish early on. You can see him right on the extreme right of the shot now, outside the top 30. Yeah, Steve Vernon, just to conclude that, I mean, some of these runners are building up to London Marathon. There's 1 or 2 of them that have aspirations on the road. Some of them have had indoor seasons, but for Steve, this is his competitive peak for the year. To be UK cross-country champion, something he's never done before, and be British #1 going to the World Championships would be fitting at 30. He doesn't have to save himself for anything. So to that extent, if he's risking a niggle, well, what's to lose? Because he would be otherwise going into a little bit of a rest period before the summer. So, personally, it would be a crowd favourite if Vernon were able to win this. I think Steve Vernon, that is.
Right at the lead in there actually was Derek Hawkins, the Scotland West under-23 there, 4.661, the light blue vest on the right. And that 4.661, he's the Scottish champion this year from the Kilbarcan Athletics Club.
Well, I'll tell you,
18th last year in this race.
yes, there was a notable little bit of history completed by the Hawkins family, because his father Robert won a couple of Scottish titles, his brother Callum, who's now in the States at university, won the other two, and he filled in the missing one in winning the Scottish senior title. So the whole family have won Scottish titles, and he's actually in really good nick. He's coached by Laurie Spence, former international marathon runner, and I would make him, you know, if I was running a book, Stuart, and I'm not a betting man, I would make him a 15-to-1 shot, Derek Hawkins, on this, because he's rounding into good form.
There's our early leader, falling back through the field now. Lovely scenes, this. The wind is just, you can see on those tapes, it has built up a little. Rob made comment about that earlier on, and it was very calm earlier on today. It got up a little bit. It looks as though it's died down a little bit now. So the conditions got Ryan Mcleod in the yellow, red and blue, looking good at this stage.
Well, not only might we see a brand new UK champion, because I think only Andy Vernon and Tom Humphreys have won this title ever in the past, but it could be a new look British team. But the key element again will be not to have huge gaps, because that will give the selectors pause to reconsider and wonder just how many Europeans or African athletes you would fit in those gaps, and whether it's worth taking runners that are finishing a minute behind the leader when the world cross will be so fierce. So Ryan Mcleod kicking on a little bit. He was bitterly disappointed at the National Indoor Arena when his intermediate time at 3,000 metres was 1/10th out. I think he was cussing me because I was announcing that we had a watch that said 7:53.99. Stressed it was unofficial, but he didn't hear that bit. So he was already feeling relieved, and unfortunately the official split time meant that he was off the plane for the European Indoors. And he'll be burning. He will want something to show for this weekend if it's not a place at the European Indoors. Father Mick is here supporting. We've already had one Northeastern winner with Mark Shaw, and Ryan Mcleod probably in the best form of his life as well. He's had a long career, but this has been his best winter.
Ryan Mcleod has been running in New York, actually. He ran a mile in New York recently indoors. He was 10th in that race, just outside 4:4. He was 41st in this race last year. Ran just over 8 minutes for 3,000 indoors. We've made mention of his indoor performances, and most of his stuff this year has been indoors, actually.
Looking back at Andy Vernon, you can see him just going through the trees there in that familiar Hampshire vest, the white with the green stripe. Former winner of this event. He doesn't look completely comfortable to me, and I think he's had a very patchy sort of winter, and about halfway round this course is the time you find out whether you're 100% fit or only 95% fit, and I think he'll just be having concerns around his ability to win this.
4 kilometres gone, 8 to go in this final event of this McCain series, the Inter-Counties Championship, the World Championship trial for cross-country. Tom Humphreys there, 4:7.10. Skinner, 4:4.62. Tweldy next to him. And they're all still there. And Ryan Mcleod's just got to be a bit careful. He's not out on his own all the time at this early stage of the race. We're not even a third of the way through yet, because the rest are just bunched there, just sitting in there. The business end of the race is yet to come. Mike Skinner in the blue vest there, 4:4.62, an accomplished cross-country runner over the years. He will feature certainly. Lancashire just jumping about over the top of the wearing 4:3.86. Incidentally, Lancashire, it's said, may well run a 5,000 at the beginning of this season. It doesn't want to go to the cross-country. This is probably it for him, using